Hi guys, welcome to another Breathe Rich TKD instructional video. We're going to have a look at Joong Gun today. Great pattern, love it. It was one of my favorite patterns as a color belt before I started learning some of the more senior patterns. It is quite complicated, there's a lot of little bits that you need to learn. It is probably one of the first patterns where you really need to think about your feet, the difference in stances, making sure your left side and your right side are all the same. You'll see in the video in a minute that even I sometimes don't get back to my mark. It's not that easy. It's easy to lose focus and overshoot or undershoot. And we'll have a look at that in a second. There's a new stance for sure in there, a couple of new stances in fact, that we'll have a look at a bit more detail after the description, after the video in the description section. So have a look, watch the video, rewind it, repeat it, see to make sure you get familiar with it, and we'll get into the description. So that was the pattern. Again, like I said, one of my favorite patterns. It's one of these patterns that I really repeated and I used for gradings even after I learned it. It is difficult, it's not easy. So let's start off, let's have a look at the first three moves like we've done before. Again, these first three moves are quite important. Unlike the other patterns where you do repeat the moves, in this pattern you do not, you only do it twice. However, there is quite, some people get it wrong, some of the hand positions. So the first move, for example, over here, you're going to do a reverse knife hand block. Okay, it's very important. So reverse knife hand, so I'm going to show you from this angle. As I come through, I'm going to put my hands in a middle block position. So as if I was doing a middle block, my hand is open. I'm going to go into an L stance and execute a middle reverse block. Now, as you can see, my thumb is very clearly out of the way. It's not in the way. I'm using this part of my hand to block it. Have a look at your white book, and it will show you where that hand is. Just this section of the hand is what I'm striking with as I come through. So here we go, just in there. Okay, so we're blocking a punch coming at us, a punch or a strike coming at us into the middle section here. What you're going to follow up here after you've done that middle section reverse knife hand is a front snap kick. Now this front snap kick is low section, so you're aiming for the knee. It's essentially the target zone here. We're going to go for knee. Okay, so we're going to execute that middle front snap kick as we land. So we're going to go 1, 2. When you step forward, this is where that different new stance comes in. So here, we've executed that front snap kick. As we step forward and execute a upward palm heel. So you've done upward palm heel before. I'm going to come across, so I like this movement, I like the big movement to learn here to come up. We're using this palm heel section only. I'm not going to have a flat hand, so heels going up. The stance is different, however. So we have L stance, we've done fixed stance. We're going to go into rear foot stance. Knees still bent, this comes in, and we go up onto the balls of our feet. The hips go up, right? So it's this position, we're using the hips to hold our arm up. Pretty much, I would say 90% of your weight is in this leg. How do you get into that stance? It's quite simple. So we're going to go pivot once, okay, lift the leg. That's all it is, right? So we're going to go from chin B, we're going to pivot once, and lift the leg. That is your rear foot stance. Some people like to do it a little bit smaller. I am fine with you doing a little bit wider. We've talked about this. Do these stances a little bit bigger. So when you get into that position where you need to do it for a grading or for a competition, and you get into that, I need to rush. You will end up smaller. But if you practice the bigger, you get used to it. Again, here it's very important to get that hips up to generate that power. Get those hips to kick up. We're going to put all the weight back here, and we're going to not lean, so the body is still in the central line. You can see, all right, my hips are going out to support. It's very hard to get the hip twist on that movement. Practice it. I can't say it enough times. I've said it a lot to you guys. Keep practicing the movements over and over again. You'll eventually get it shinier and shinier and shinier. It takes time. Once you've executed those techniques, what we get to is we'll get to a reaver, we'll get to a knife hand block, and now this upward elbow. The importance, and we talked about this when we did the spear finger before, right? It is central line. Everything we do is to the center. So if I'm here, my central line is here, right down this middle. So my central line is still here, right? You see that movement, my central line is here. I need to be striking down that central line. So what's going to happen is my hips will need to readjust to get there. So from here, as I come through, I want to adjust my hips to come across that center down the middle. Just like when we did our circular block in one yo, the hips are actually turning past what is center. Comes across that middle. The position for the arm, again, its importance. You'll see some people do this. It's not that. It's this way. So knuckles are facing you as I come across. That changes the position of your arm, right? So if I'm striking with this bit, it's this part of my arm that's striking. So when I come up here, this bit of my arm, I don't want that bit. What I want this bit here. It's like subtle difference. What it does is it puts the bones in your arm in the right place to make an effective strike, to come underneath someone's chin. So that's what we're aiming for, underneath the chin. Under that chin, right? Straight up in the middle section, through the central line. Quite important that the transition, as we've done before, going from a small stance into a big stance. What we don't want to do is pull that leg in to do that strike. So the twist here is very important. You've got to practice coming up to that center. Practice a few times. You do it twice, left and right. Practice it. You'll eventually get the timing right to go 1, 2. Just like when we do in your golf where we have that 1, 1, 2. It's the same things. 1, 2. It's a combination move, so we have a little bit more speed. It doesn't mean you're rushing. It's the difference, right? It's 2 exhalations out. So, whereas in a single, where I'm doing 2 single movements, right? I'll breathe in twice as well. Practice those. Have a look at the footwork. It's quite important how that transition works. You need to, for this pattern, the L stance is not actually what's going to cause your move forward movement. It's your walking stance, right? So we need to make sure we have a good walking stance on our right, and we have a good walking stance on our left. That they are equally distanced, they're equal size, equal width. Otherwise, we're going to go too far forward, or we're not going to come back enough. After you worked your way through those patterns, all through those movements. There's another move which is quite usually done slightly incorrectly when not executed properly, is this X-fist rising. Now X-fist rising, you need to be able to see your target. So if I'm in this X-fist rising and I'm here, I cannot see my target. I cannot see you, which means my block is ineffective. It's going to strike me on the head. I want to be above my target and I want to be clear. So I'm going to go forward a little bit. So if I show you, right, the difference between this position and this position. Okay? Here I'm going outwards and up. So I'm going to catch that arm that is above me. That's the difference. It's quite a key difference between here and here. I can see my target, I can see through that center, I can see where I'm going, and I can see who I'm defending against. The starting position, we would have looked at this. X-fist pressing is here. We go back to the hips to go to the X-fist rising. So in the combination that you do is you do a Duotaro, X-fist rising. We've gone from this twin upset punch to X-fist rising. Now I'm not going to look at the twin upset punch. We've looked at that in your two-step already. So we'll have a look at that in a separate video, how to execute a effective upset punch. The next combinations, the left and the right combinations, those are tricky. Once we've got to this position, it's important that when you transition to the next move, which is a back fist side strike, that you do not drop these hands. There's no reason to drop them up here to bring them here. We're already in the right position to go into that back fist side strike. So if I show you from the sideways angle, right, what I have is here, I'm going to come up and a strike. Now, this side back fist side strike, after the back fist side strike, what we're going to execute is we're going to do a release move. Unlike our previous release moves, unlike another release moves where you might grab the hand, we're not going to grab the hand. We're going to place the hands next to each other. Now you can see my hips have already turned into this position. Okay, after this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide this foot forward into a walking stance as I come through. Okay, so now I'm in my walking stance. I'm going to go from here, I'm going to go into my walking stance. After my walking stance, I execute a high reverse punch. There's no hip twist. That's the critical fact here, is we're going to go from here, come here, across, reverse punch. Right, one more time. There, up, release, reverse punch. There is no hip twist. This is one of the few situations where you don't do hip twist. I know I've beaten it into you to do hip twist, but in this scenario, it's speed. So we're going to go 1, 2, right? 1, 1, 2. Just like we did with the 1, 1, 1, 2, right? Only difference is in this scenario, there's no hip twist. You execute that in one fluid motion. Practice it. It's really hard to get the timing. This is an important fact. Practice, practice, practice. Once you've completed those movements, we start getting into some more of the complexities. We have this movement here where we do double, high section double forearm block, which we've done in Joong Gun. Difference is now we're going to pull back and go into the side punch in L stance. Now you saw my footwork. If you've been noticing, I said when we're in a small stance, when we go into a big stance, we don't pull that leg back. In this scenario, we're going to a small stance. So we're going to pull that leg back all the way in, chamber, go in to our L stance. So you come all the way back in to go out to the L stance. Quite important, which is slightly different to what we did at the beginning of this pattern or in the other previous two patterns as well. That combination, again, we use that in your line work, so it's good to practice. Double forearm block, side punch, you do it twice. Also, after you've executed that side punch, we're going to do a side kick. Again, it's not bending stance side kick, which we talked about in one of our last videos. In this scenario, once I come here, I'm just going to execute that side kick. So I'm going to get that leg into the correct position to execute the side straight away. I'm not going to wait, I'm just going to get that leg out. What we get a lot of is this big arc that people do. Don't need the big arc. from here. Just get that leg all the way into that chamber, kick, land. That's all that there is. Get the leg into the chamber as quickly as you can. And land. No need to worry about making a big movement to get to where you need to be. Now, those kicks, again, we can look at in another video. We'll have a video to look at kicks and how you execute them successfully against targets. How it's important to keep up part of your foot. You saw I was using the foot sword here. We'll have a look at those in a separate video. What's important to note is that it comes across quickly and we push it out straight. Once you've executed those, we get into the more difficult ones, which is here. We go into this forearm guarding and we do a low stance. If this is my walking stance, my low stance is going to be one step. That's it. Some people think from a walking stance you need to make this huge step, go to a low stance. It's not necessary. For practice purposes, if you want to make a big stance to get used to that strengthening, get used to stepping forward, that's fine. But from here, as I get to this pressing, again, this is a slow movement. So I'm going to push forward, I'm going to slide this foot, and I'm going to go into my low stance. Okay? Now, as I showed you a second ago, go from the walking stance to the low stance. It's just one little step. That's it. It's my low stance. Coming up from the low stance, you don't want to do a double take. It's also important to engage that core. So I'm in this low stance. My next movement is a forearm guarding. I don't want to be going as I come forward. I want to practice a smooth movement to come into that next stance. So that's suck yourself up. You're going to use that core to pull those legs in as you come through. Practicing that again is a good thing to do. How these hands flow is what we'll look at now. Just like when we did this second lock, it's kind of similar. We get these hands up. Right? This hand's going to come underneath, so I'm going to put this hand here. This hand's going to come down. I'm going to come underneath, so this is like an upward palm heel. This is a downward, if you want to imagine it, using your knife hand, going down the center. So come through, I will eventually get to a position where I'm passing these hands over each other as I come across. Okay, one more time. So this is slow, come across, and get to the center where I'm in the middle, and then over again. And as you can see, this hand has a lot of ways to go. This front hand has less distance to travel as I come through. Practice that. Practice this movement. Okay, over and over. And make this C shape. Right, 2 crescents on either side. That's where a lot of the complexity of this pattern is. The last 2 movements that you do, which is your 2 movements there, they're not that easy either. And you have one more. So let's start off with our U-shaped grasping. Okay, I'm going to do it in front of you. This is done in a fixed stance. Starts like this. So this is my bottom hand. My elbow is going to go onto my hip. This hand is going to face downwards. This hand is going to come on top with the palm behind it. All the bottom hand is going to do is going to turn. That's all it's going to do. It's just going to go from here and turn. This hand, on the other hand, will go over the top. Pretty much here, right? From here, this hand's going to turn. This hand's going to go over the top. Okay. Now, some people believe that this has to be above your head. I don't agree on that. It's got to be forward and out. It's got to be away from your body. They need to be on top of each other. Right? The one can't be in front while the other is behind. They have to be on top of each other. And to get yourself into a comfortable position where you can effectively block the oncoming strike. From a pole, that's the defense really. There are other scenarios, but in this case, if you imagine there is someone coming at you with a pole, it's a pole defensive block. When you go from this side to the other, all you need to do is switch these hands over behind there, and across to generate that hip touch, right? So we go middle, we pull it across, pull that hip touch across. Those two movements, they will be similar to when you first did your twin forearm block. Sometimes you get the hands the wrong way around, or you don't quite get them in the right places. It's fine, practice it. Have a look at the pattern, have a look at this part of the video, rewind, read to, try to do it slowly for you guys to see it a little bit more clearly. The other movement, which is again a little bit tricky to do, is that we have executed this final pressing block here. Final pressing block here. I'm going to come up. As we slide, you're going to come up into a side punch, right? What that is feet are together. Open, feet are together, close stance, and this comes across slowly, across to your badge. Right. It's nice and slow, so it's coming flat across my body to my badge. It's another one of the posture moves they do, just like your pressing block that you just did a minute ago. Comes across, nice and slowly to your badge. There are movements in this pattern that will take you a while to get right. There are movements in this pattern that will take you a while to perfect. I would suggest that you break the pattern down and look at it individually. We can have a look at more details about this pattern and the separate movements in our virtual tutorials. If you have any comments or questions, please add them in the comment section below. If you haven't already, subscribe and hit that notification bell. You can keep up to date of the videos we are putting out there. Stay safe, stay fit, Jimmy.